Hi, everybody. I'm back. I've been having a thought for quite a long time. We're not thinking about something that people have been saying to me, and I think I've commented on it on my channel maybe a couple of times, and that is sometimes people come up and say, where do you get your ideas? And that's so intangible. I would think, well, wait a minute, how can they ask me that? But also, when I thought about that, I also thought about plagiarism, because that's a big issue. You have to really be careful. But you say, well, wait a minute, there are no new ideas in the world. Everybody out, well, that's not what I'm talking about. Of course, you can take an idea from someone else. That's what art is supposed to do. When you see it, if you're an artist, I see ideas for myself when I look at really good art. I think, oh, wait, I could, but not duplicate it. But sometimes it's okay to duplicate it if you're learning. In other words, if you're privately, you're not going to put it online, just for yourself. You can try to duplicate something you see. That's perfectly okay. You're not going to try to sell it. And you're going to learn something when you do that. But then I was also thinking, you know how you go through Etsy and you're looking at Pinterest and you're going, oh, I like that, ping, and you save it. Oh, I like that, and you save that. Oh, I like that idea. I'm going to do that someday. And it just adds up, and of course we never do it, or very seldom anyway. Why? Well, because the idea hit us, but then of course life gets in the way. Well, life didn't get in my way this last week or so, because I was thinking to myself, that is how I get my inspiration. Rhino wasn't that way. My rhino was because of a gift I got, but that is an inspiration. It set me reeling in my brain. But also sometimes it's as simple as, what did I put on my Pinterest or my Etsy? What did I put up on the little board? What did I save? And so I did that for the last couple of weeks. I've been doing that to analyze my thought process, to help other people, because actually, people say, well, you can't duplicate that. That's just something you have. No, you can in a way. You can force it. You can cause yourself to become innovative. Really, you can. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you examples, hopefully. So I'll just do them in short videos, and then you'll see what they are, of how I got an idea and then how I tried to duplicate it, okay? But with my own twist. You're going to see my own twist. So I'm going to stop here for a second. You're going to see me disappear, and I'm going to show you the inspiration, and then I'm going to show you what I ended up with. So you're going to see in here my inspiration. So this, I believe, was Etsy, maybe Pinterest, but you can see that gave me this idea of a face and sort of greenery and wood. Then I saw the next one, which is like a figure on some driftwood, and that inspired me. And I really gave that a heavy thought. Then I saw this one. This is my big inspiration. Take a look at this. I'm going to leave it on here for a little bit. Really, really look at the different parts of this. And I'm going to show it again. But now I'm going to show you what I ended up doing with this as my basic inspiration. This is what I came up with. And I'll reference you back to the original in a little bit, but this was, of course, she's not in a loop, right? She's not in a big circle. I didn't embed a creature inside the wood. I just took all these ideas, and you can see the materials. I put them out so you can see what, it was 22 gauge wire. And so I just took some 22 gauge wire. I'm not going to do this exactly, but you just get whatever you want. You decide, okay, what do I want my head to be? How big do I want my head? And you just make it into that size head. And then you have to make a little bit of shoulders, nothing much. And then that's your body right here. And it doesn't have to be, she's not proportional. If you look at that piece, she was very long. And when people say, well, I don't sculpt people, and I can't do that. Well, she doesn't have the hardest thing about doing figures of humans or fairies or anything is the feet, the hands, the face. The rest of it, you can just sort of get it together, right? So you notice she doesn't have a face. You can't see the feet. So that was the idea. You can camouflage that, which is harder, so that you can do it. So then I just made the body, See, there's the body. A couple of twists. And then there's the body that she's got in the center. And there's her head. You can change this. You can just keep changing proportion. You make it as you want it. And I have my body. And then I wanted really super long legs. And then when you want to do your arms, you just take a piece and you wind it around here and let some stick out here and some stick out here, or wind it a little bit around here. And there's your arms. And make them really long and then cut them back. So that's basically what I did. And then I took batting, not roving. So that's a little bit different because it doesn't want to come out in big, long pieces like I've taught you that roving does. But you see, you can put this on here and you can begin to just wrap it. This is batting, so it doesn't want to, it has fibers going in all different directions. But it doesn't matter because this is rough. This is, not going to matter. But what you want to do, beyond the little pokey part, you don't want that little pokey part, you don't want it to be poking out. So you just go beyond it and then come back. And then you can take a little bit of glue in your hand or water and you can seal it. And you just do that. Do that here. Do it here. Keep doing it here. Leave this open so you can sort of, you'll be able to poke through it because this is, of course, dry felting that we're doing. And then you just cover up the head and then you're going to just poke it. You're going to, dry felting technique. That's what this is. And you keep doing that. And, of course, this is my felting needle. I'm not teaching dry felting. This is just what I did. You can look at my many videos to show you how to do this. And then I began to create this. And I just did a lot of felting. I made it very, very long. I made it very firm felting. No facial features. Just long, thin, because if I kept looking at my picture, remember, she's very long indeed. And so that's what I did. And then let me take this off of her so you can see. Oops. Now I kind of ruined her little hands here because I kept shoving them. Because you don't like that end to show, but I'm going to cover this with, anyway, so that's a little bit closer. So then I wanted her to have hair, but at first I thought, well, I'm going to make florist tape hair. You just take wire, same idea, and you wrap florist tape. This is florist tape. And then I was going to put that all around. And that actually wasn't a bad idea. But I decided to go with, I take wire instead, little pieces of wire. And what I did was, to make these things that look like this, what I do is take something called, can you see it there? It's called modeling paste. Modeling paste. It's white. And what you do is you get the modeling paste, and this is kind of white. Can you see it? And you take, not 22 gauge, but you could. This is 14 or, no, this is, I don't know what this is, but it's a finer gauge. Maybe 24 gauge, something like that. And you just dip it in. This is like whipped cream or marshmallow. And then what you do is you just kind of make it get you want it to get, like when you do a cake on a cake and you hit it so it gets lumpy. Well, that's what you do. You just keep hitting this. There it is. Now it's going. See how it got all spiny like that? Then you set it up in some styrofoam to dry. Doesn't take that long to dry. And the reason I use wire is so I can bend it. Then I took baby's breath and I made them into little individual, cut them off, and using tweezers. And I used this kind of glue. You can use anything, but I used jewelry glue because it doesn't have to be this, believe me, just jewelry glue because it dries clear. But you could use any other glue that you want to use. And I just made a little lump of it down here, and then I just dumped the little flowers in there, and then I set them around so you couldn't see where that went into the head. And then there's no face necessary. And then another thing is the clothing. Well, how did I do that? I'm going to do a video on it. I promise you I will. So this is not a tutorial, remember again. But I took gauze and pieces of just cheap old cotton material and things that you could see the weave in. That's got more of a weave you can see in it. And what I do is I put it in a bath of rust water. I rust water. But I also tinged this with some alcohol dyes or just any kind of dyes. I gave it some dyes before I did that. Because if you don't do that, you get this color, which is fine. But I wanted some color, so I put some in. I like to use gauze a lot. And then when it dries, you can do a lot. You can put this on the surface of things. I'll show you this. But that's what I did with that. And then I took a little bit of this and cut it and sewed it and made the booties. Now, this was the hardest part because I'm not very good at shoving those in there, but I didn't want the feet to show. And in my Target picture, remember she has little booties on. I'll show you that again. And I had glued her butt onto a piece of driftwood. So she's on a piece of driftwood. See her? So I've glued her butt in there. This is her back, so you can see. And then I glued her feet, 1 foot, so I want her a little bit more stable. And I haven't finished her yet. I haven't decided a lot of things that are going to finish. Then I want her to be holding something. So I had carved this out of a piece of gourd. I made the wings a couple years ago. And I had extra, and I destroyed one of my pieces. I didn't want it anymore, so I took it apart. And sometimes I take parts off of old pieces so I don't have to recarve. Nothing wrong with that as long as you're the artist. And I think I want to have her holding it. But I'm not necessarily certain. That's up for grabs. But I do want to hide the fact that she doesn't have hands. So I've got to find a way to do that. So that's still in the works. And then I'm going to figure out how to show her. Am I going to put her in a hoop? Maybe. Maybe she's going to be part of just a wall hanging. I haven't decided that. But what I did is, this was my inspiration for that piece. And I looked at several other pieces. I put it together. But you can see I haven't plagiarized. This is me. This is not that other artist's work. This is different. But it's still, I got the idea from somebody else that I didn't have before that. Well, do that. Look, and sometimes even the process, like I will say, I'm going to duplicate something. So I began to duplicate it, and then as I do, your creative juices get going, and you go, no, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then you do make it your own. So this is an example of how I get my ideas. And I'm going to show you others, but this is the one for today. I hope you enjoyed this. And I'll show you that reference picture again. Again, this is the reference picture. You can see I even kept to maybe that same color scheme. I tried to put the little booties on. Then here's my piece. This is before I added some of the parts. And then there's the finish right here.